Hi and welcome to the Quick Start tutorial for Easy Connect. After installing the tool, go to Window and select Easy Connect. This will open a compact and fully responsive UI that fits perfectly into every workspace. The first 4 buttons create different types of line connections. Select the layers in the order you want them to connect. Then click the first button to create a simple line connection. Click the second button to create a closed line. The third button connects multiple layers to a single target layer. Make sure to select the target layer last. The fourth button creates connections between every selected layer. As you can see, all line connections are created inside a single shape layer, which allows you to easily adjust and modify all lines at once. This layer also has some effect controls, which we will take a closer look at in a moment. In addition to line connections, the next button creates a shape between the selected layers, which is created on its own shape layer. When creating a straight line like this, it actually creates individual line segments, which you can notice when we make the stroke really thick, or also when we trim the path. However, if we hold down the Control or Command key, it creates a single continuous line. If we also hold down the Shift key, it will reverse the path direction. Holding down Alt or Option will replace all existing connections. If you hover over the buttons, you will see a description with all the hotkeys you can use and what they exactly do. Let's take a look at the effect controls. As you saw earlier, we can trim our lines and offset them. You can set a time delay to offset your trim animations. Reverse the delay order, or randomize it. Now let's say we want to add a gap between our layers and the lines. We could use trim paths, but as I move the layer around, you can see the gap size changes. With shortened paths, the gap size stays consistent because it uses a pixel-based value instead of a percentage. Next, we can enable dashes and adjust their appearance. We can also add arrowheads and tails. If you click Enable Head, you'll notice nothing shows up yet. You also need to toggle on arrow visibility. There's a note here reminding you of this. The reason arrow visibility is off by default is performance. Arrows are made up of many shapes, so keeping them hidden gives a significant boost. You can choose from many different head types. And for each one, you can adjust the size, shape, position, or use a custom color. The tail has all the same settings. Next, we have connection type. There are several connection types available. Try adjusting the sliders for each one to see what they do. For every connection type, you can set the axis to X or Y. Choosing Auto Flip will automatically switch between the two based on the layer's position. Under Transform, you can offset the line position. A good example for this: if you duplicate the layer and set the offset in the opposite direction, you get parallel lines, which works great for animations showing a process that goes in both directions. Let's duplicate the lines layer and enable dashes. Then let's reduce the opacity of the first layer and make the stroke a little thicker. Now, if I want to change the connection type, I'd have to change it for every single layer. That's where master controls come in. On the newly created guide layer, you have the exact same effect controls, except these apply to all layers at once. If you need to adjust a single layer individually, select it and expand Override by Master Controls. Here you can choose which feature sets should be controlled by the master and which should be left to the individual layer. So if we uncheck Trim Paths, for example, we can trim that layer independently, while everything else is still driven by the master controls. Note that whichever layer you have selected when clicking the Master Controls button, its settings will be pushed to the Master Controls. If no layer is selected, default settings will be created instead. To remove the Master Controls layer and reset all override checkboxes, hold down Alt or Option key and click the button again. To add lines, you simply select your layers and click on one of the 4 line connection buttons. It will automatically add lines to all existing line layers. To remove a layer, select it and click on this button. You can also insert a layer in between 2 other layers with this button. By default, new lines are created inside existing shape layers. And removing them removes them from all layers. If you want more control, you can switch from auto mode to manual mode. In manual mode, each new line gets its own shape layer. To add a line to a specific layer, just select it before clicking the button. The same applies when inserting or removing layers. Simply select the layer you want to modify. You can also select multiple layers to modify them all at once. Easy Connect has a built-in path tracer that works with any shape or mask path and is extremely easy to use. Just select the object, then the layer containing the path, and click Trace. It will immediately follow the path. You can enable Auto Orient and offset the rotation. Scale Fall Off automatically scales the layer down towards the ends of the path. Opacity Fall Off does the same thing for opacity. If your layer contains multiple paths, you can choose which one to trace by changing the index number here. You can also trace all paths in sequence. To remove the trace effect, Alt or Option click the Trace button. And of course, the Path Tracer also works with all lines created by Easy Connect. And that's it for this tutorial. Thanks for watching, and I will see you in another video.